Hi guys, I'm Evante. I'm a brand strategist and content strategist. And last week we talked about branding. This week we're talking about advertising. In marketing, advertising, branding, I'll be honest that a lot of these terms, they blur together so much that it's very dumb in 2024 to get into the specification. But I feel the need to, just to help make sure that we can have words defined, because I think that's really important. Branding, like we talked about last week, is all about perception. It's not about what the brand actually is. It's about what the brand or the logos or the images or the colors represent. And the art of putting a brand together is the art of coming up with how someone will perceive something. Now, advertising is a little bit different, but these two work together, and they have to work together because advertising uses what branding comes up with. Here's what I mean. An advertisement may have a logo in it. It's the branding team or the brand strategist, in my case, hi, that's me, or whoever it's going to be, who comes up with that piece, that strategy, that how it's going to be used and how it's going to show up. How are we going to have the consistency that's needed to make you remember and feel the way that you do? Advertising is really all about selling, and it's about telling the story directly, telling the person, the consumer, the customer, whoever it is, hey, you need this thing. Why? Because it's awesome. And you're going to hear that over and over and over again. And that's advertising. Now, back in the day, advertising was really broken down to a couple of ways. You had radio, you had television, and you had print, whether that be newspaper or magazines. And that was the basis of advertisement. If you wanted to get your name out there and someone didn't write a story about you or write a book about you, and you wanted to just pay to pop up somewhere, then you paid for an ad. You paid for a radio ad, you paid for a commercial, or you paid for print. Now we're in this age of social media and Google and YouTube, like this platform here, and there are ads that can pop up here. So the question becomes what is advertising? What isn't advertising? In my opinion, advertising is just about everything that happens today. Advertising is anytime you are trying to drive a point home through what you are saying. Whether you're talking to people, whether you're recording it in a living room like I'm doing right now, it doesn't matter. I think that's what advertising really is. When we talk about branding being perception, advertising is telling. It doesn't matter if you're doing that on a one-on-one basis, which would be sales, right? Or if you're doing that through an email, which we will call email marketing. If you're doing that on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok, that's social media marketing. And the word marketing and advertising do kind of get blurred together. If you're talking to somebody who really wants to get uppity about it, you can be like, yeah, sure. Advertising are the things that we pay for. It's ads. It's paid pieces of content. But genuinely, can you tell, right? Does it matter at the end of the day if it was paid for, if it's still having the same effect and popping up the same way? We can design ads, things that look like ads that are free. We can even design things that look like they're free to be ads. We have editorials now, articles that are sponsored content, things that someone has paid for, but it looks like it wasn't paid for. At that point, what's the difference between an ad and anything else that pops up? For me, it's all content, which will be the next video that we dive into. But when we talk about the difference between branding and advertising, a lot of people get into advertising before they even think about branding. They start talking about who they are without even wondering what that means, right? They say, this is what I do, and they just keep saying that. And meanwhile, people are going, who are you, dude? Where'd you come from? Slow down, introduce yourself. What are you talking about? And that has to be the place to start. So when we talk about things like advertising, when you feel the need to hype yourself and you don't know anything about yourself, sit down, right? When you're a business and you want to hype yourself, you want to talk about your services, but you don't really know how to describe your services, maybe take some time to figure out how to describe your services. It's not a bad thing. If you're having a debate in your staff about how to discuss something, how to handle something, and you can't come to an agreement on it, then don't talk about it out loud until you've come to that consistency, that basic repetition that's going to build that brand. Whether you're a person or an org, it's going to come down to the same thing. So advertising is all about talking. It's all about communicating, shooting things out and making sure that you understand it, whether you're paying for it, whether you're not. If you're doing that, if you're creating something with that being the goal, in my mind, that is an ad. And I feel like that's just the easiest way to put it. We'll be back next week and I'll explain exactly what content is and really the difference between content and an ad.